This is Migrant Podcast with Robinson.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. As Robinson introduced, my name is Ba Nye Hong. I'm from Myanmar. I've been here since 2019. I've resettled here through the UN refugee resettlement process. For the process, it was actually a very long process, and it's not always a success story. So in 2006, I left my country and I went to Thailand. And the situation was very complicated because in Thailand, they, because of humanitarian respect, they accept refugees from Myanmar, but they haven't signed an agreement with the UN, so they don't legally recognize refugees. So they just sort of take people in, just shelter them. That's basically it. And there's no resettlement process. There's no recognition process. So there are refugee camps. There are quite a few. So me and my parents, we were in one of those refugee camps, and we were sort of supported by the UNHCR, UN and UNHCR. UNHCR, was the one supporting us for the the Russians for food and materials to build shelters. So we were there, and it was just basically that. We were just there, and we were not allowed to work as a refugee because we're not legally there. So they're just sheltering us. So we were kind of forced to stay in the refugee camp. We were not allowed to go out. So me and my parents were there for 3 years. There was no process, so we were kind of lost. Like we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if or when we are going to go back to Myanmar, or if we're going to move somewhere at all. So there was uncertainty in every level imaginable. We left Thailand to Malaysia from there after 3 years because some people left from the camp, and we heard news that the UN the UNHCR is working in Malaysia, and they're registering people and recognizing them as a refugee, so the resettlement process can start. So we left Thailand, we went to Malaysia, and we spent 3 more years waiting for us to get registered because there was lots of people, and they sort of have like a limit. I don't know how the process actually works, but like people have to wait, and not everyone successfully get registered either. We were in the capital, Kuala Lumpur, so we were just in the urban area. So we left Thailand, we got to Malaysia, and we were waiting for us to get registered with the UNHCR. But while we were waiting, we were not legally there, so there was always a risk of getting arrested. So we had to stay under the radar from the Malaysian police. So we sort of had to look for jobs where and the employees are willing to take us. So we were just working there, staying under the radar for 3 years. Like obviously we get stopped sometimes and get arrested. Luckily, I never got arrested, but quite a few people I know, my friends, got arrested. So when that happens, there's like a community centers from Burma, because from we had sorry if I say Burma, because the country is known with both names, Myanmar and Burma. So it is used interchangeably, but officially known as Myanmar. It was called Burma before, but then it just officially changed to Myanmar. Yeah, yeah. It's the country's always been Myanmar in our own language. It's just that we were colonized by the British, and Burma is like the given name by the British. So the world is known the country as Burma like forever. But then the country decided to change to back to a proper name, Myanmar. So yeah, so it's Myanmar and Burma at the same time. So yeah, so we were there and we waited 3 years, and finally we got the registered with the UNHCR, and we were officially refugees, and then we got resettled here in 2014. And the process, as soon as we got registered as the refugee, the process, the actual resettlement process went quite fast because my brother was already here since 2002, I think. I don't remember. He came through resettlement process, refugee resettlement process also. So he was here and he started the resettlement process already. And from this Canadian side here for us to resettle was, started and ready to go. It's just from our side, we couldn't leave the country. So we were just waiting in the process for 6 years. And then, in 2014, we finally got here. And yeah, here I am, 6 years, 7 years after. As soon as we landed here, we were given permanent residence recognition. First thing I did was I went to francisation by I took the French classes by the government, which I believed was necessary, if I'm to be here in Quebec. So I did that. I took the intensive course, and it was like, as the name sounded, it was intensive from 9 in the morning till 5, like really going to school, like 5 days a week. But it was a nice experience because I get to learn a new language, although it's really hard. Like, never heard French in my life before until I started going French class, and it was worth it actually. So now I am able to communicate and speak French. So I did the French, and then I applied for interior design program in Dawson, and I did the interior design for 3 years at Dawson, and I started working after the interior design. But before that, I was working in the restaurant and because my family had a family restaurant before, and I was helping waiting table there. It was a great help for my French also. So I waited table while I was at school, and then finished school, then started working after. Yes, the thing that's the worst for me. It was the hopelessness was the worst. It gets quite debilitating sometimes. Like, what am I supposed to do, and why am I even doing this anymore? Because you don't really see the future while you're in this process, and while you really want to get somewhere, you really want to get done something for your life. So I would say, like, to be, although it's not always something, although it's hard to do all the time, but I would suggest to be hopeful, and it would keep you motivated to keep to keep trying. So as long as you're trying, something's going to happen, even if it's not not exactly what you're expecting, something's gonna happen as long as you're trying. Yeah, and not to be too rigid either, because like I was saying, you can't, when you don't know what's gonna happen, you can't really aim for one thing, right? You need to be open to the possibility. You need to always on the lookout, like what's there for me, what can I do, and just keep trying. That's all you, like, when you're not sure what you can do, that's all you can do, and you gotta do what you can do, yeah, to get somewhere. Well, beside the French courses, I would say try to get to know good people, to get, because you need to belong. You need to have a good sense of belonging, like you're in a new place and the new culture. At the beginning, it might be nice, like like to see new things, really, um, like to start to see the sense of hope. But in the long run, it's very important to have friends and community. So don't just stay at home. Just try to get to know people, even if it's people here, Canadian, or people where you're from. It's just get involved, get to know people. Like sometimes, even when you get here, like personally, even when I was here, I still felt lost because, like, okay, I'm here. What am I supposed to do? Where do I start? So sometimes it's hard for you to think alone where to start. But if you know people, you talk with people, and you will get more ideas on where to get started. Like for me, like I went interior design, but it was not something I ever thought I would do, and it's not something I ever imagined I would like. But I actually like it. Like I I got to know this about this program through friends also. So they were telling me about, we were just talking, and they were telling me about this program and how it's good. And yeah, I went, and I looked it up, and I asked around, and it was actually nice. So yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. Like, just to get to know people more. The more you know, the better. Maybe you start with the people from your own community, but eventually it's a very good idea to branch out from people who grew up here, people from here, because it's important to, if you are to be here and to live here as a Canadian, you need to get their perspective, because you need to eventually integrate yourself. Otherwise, you will always feel like alone, you're disconnected. So it's important also to get to know people like here also. Like it will help with the cultural shock also. If why people do certain things, and why they are different from you, and why they think that way. You will be able to better put yourself in their shoes. So it will help you also. Minority ethnic group from my country. So we speak our own language, which is very different from the official language that's spoken in the country. So it's called Mon. My ethnic group is called Mon. So I speak my language and the official language, which is Burmese. So the Mon, the Burmese, the French, and English. Yes, I picked up some Thai. ဆိုတော့ဒီမှာနားထောင်နေတဲ့သူတွေအားလုံးအတွက်လည်းကျေးဇူးတင်ပါတယ်ကျွန်တော်အခုမြန်မာလိုပေါ့နော်ဒီ podcast ကိုလည်းလာပြီးတော့နားထောင်အားပေးကြဖို့ဖိတ်ခေါ်ပါတယ်ပေါ့နော်ဒီ podcast လာလုပ်ပေးတဲ့လူကိုစားပေါ့ကျေးဇူးတင်ပါတယ် Yeah, that was in Burmese. Sure, thank you.
This was I'm Migrant Podcast with Robinson.